I'm going to start my walk today down by the Assembly Hall in Worthing, where I live, and make my way down to the beach in a different route than I have recently, although I've probably done this in the long distance past. And the reason for that is I've been told, and I don't know if it's still happening, that yesterday or the day before there was some filming going on at the Lido, or Lido, however you pronounce it. I never quite know. So I thought I'll go down and see what that's all about, feature film of some description. And while I do that, I thought I'd just walk down and take you with me in the normal way. If you're new to the site, I'm at the moment trying out an experiment of vlogging every day. I may put something else out in the daytime. Thanks very much for that loud sound effect. I may or may not, so it depends, but the idea is to try and do a one-take wonder. This used to be a car park for the town, Stoke Abbott Road car park, also for the magistrates' courts. So if ever you had to go and, as I once did, had to stand up and say, I'm not paying that parking fee because it's a bit ludicrous, and I got off. Thank you very much. And there used to be the health centre there. I don't know what they're building here, whether it's, I think it's a new health centre of some description. Either that or it's flats. But they've been working on it for some time. Oh, here we go. Brand new NHS facility to improve the healthcare across Worthing. Well, they need it bigger, don't they? After all, we've got all these immigrants coming in that was going to need free healthcare all over the place. So let's hope they get some of that. I'm actually going to go down this little road here, which is rather attractive. Abbott's, well, it says it's Abbott's Closes, and it's a dead end, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, I thought it was a different road. So we'll go that way. It's early in the morning. Lots of people are coming on their way to work, or travelling on their way to work. That's a nice little cottage. There are some lovely properties about. They're all very expensive, of course, as I've alluded to before. But sometimes they're just in the wrong place, really. This one's gated, look, because you'll butt out onto what later developed into a busier road than was perhaps initially thought. And that might be the case. We're coming up to the law courts. So I had this parking problem. Here we are, look, the law courts behind me. I had this parking. I went to see my son in Southampton. I parked outside his office, went to get the ticket. By the time I got back, which was about 3 or 4 minutes, I had a ticket on my car saying you need to pay, I can't remember what it was now, 70 quid, something like that. And I thought, hang on a minute, I've gone up to get the ticket. That's a bit unfair. So I wrote to them and said, that's unfair, I'm not paying it. Anyway, this whole business went on for something like, I'm just trying to think now, about 5 years. It was a real long time, and in the end I thought to myself, do you know what? Take me to court. They would send threatening letters from bailiffs. Hang on, I've got to cross the road now. I'm going to go down here, if I can get across. I'm going to dive across after this yellow car and come down Salisbury Road, which is a road that leads down towards the town, and then I'll cut through Montague Street and get down into onto the seafront, which would be nice. Yeah, so in the end I kept getting all this pay up, it's now costing you this, and I think it was some ridiculous price of about 600 quid they wanted me, and I just thought to myself, this is unreasonable, I'm not prepared to pay it. Take me to court. They did. It took forever. And then just before the case started, I was asked by the representative of the parking company whether I wanted to settle out of court because I was likely to lose, and I said no thank you. And then it went to the magistrate and I won, which I thought I would. Gladys Morgan, a comedian, I've never heard of her, lived here from 1898 to 1983, comedian of star of stage, radio and TV. You've ever heard of Gladys Morgan? I'll have to look that up now. Gladys Morgan. Anyway, she lived in Worthing. A number of famous people have lived in Worthing over the years. Not least Harold Pinter, the famous author. And I can't tell you who else. So I'm quite ignorant, but people will know. Somebody somewhere will know who lived here, who's famous. I think there was that vlogger bloke, Richard Phobes. Oh no, he's not famous. No, that's lucky. That's quite a nice house here. Quite a nice big house. Again, being on the edge of town, these would have been your doctors and lawyers and, I don't know, very important merchants, no doubt. Morning. Nice, lovely, sunny day. See, that's the way to confuse they look at you holding your camera in your hand outstretched in front of you like some loony talking to yourself, and in the end you just say, good morning. Yeah. Are you taking pictures? Yeah. Who hard? Oh, the town.
Who are you? What are you?
What am I?
What do you do?
I'm a vlogger. Have you heard of that? On YouTube. You don't watch YouTube?
I do, yeah.
Ah, yeah, there you go. So I make sort of, well, sometimes landscape, heritage, history.
Really?
And sometimes rubbish. In fact, mostly rubbish, to be fair. Nonsense. So,
Nice,
well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm trying to look nice and smart today. I'm going to see if they're filming down at the Lido or Lido.
What's happening?
I don't know. They closed it off the other day.
I remember when they when they had the open air pool. My God.
Oh, I know. Wasn't that nice?
Love it was. I used to go in there.
Did you? I never went in. I remember when I was small.
Yeah.
And they had it.
Oh God.
And
I think they're going to be coming. Is it going to be coming back or something?
I did hear they were good, but it would be years, something like 5 or 6 years, because they had a lot to do.
The open air pool.
Loved it.
Oh, it is.
You could see people, because there were windows, weren't there? And you could see people in diving and having fun.
Oh my God.
So I could have seen you diving in there all those years ago.
Oh, it was lovely, wasn't it? And anyway, I'll have a good day.
Yes, I'll go and see if there's anything worth filming down there.
Oh, lovely. I'll have a good day.
Yeah, you enjoy yourself.
And you.
Take care.
And you.
Bye-bye. There we are. It's always nice to talk to one of the locals. As I say, you disarm them by just being jolly. Mostly that works in Worthing. I had an email actually talking about this. No, it was a comment, that's right, on one of the other videos, because I turn these comments off. It's part of an experiment. So if you're new here and you're thinking, hello, well, he's turned the comments off. Is it controversial? No, not really. Not controversial, but anyway, I did have a comment on a different video, and they're saying, oh, if you're thinking of moving, which we're talking about potentially moving, I don't know whether it will happen, but you know, the idea is that they said you do realise up north is a very different place, and down south, we are a soft bunch, apparently. Bucolic, which I always thought meant a sort of illness, a cough, bucolic, but of course it doesn't mean that at all. It means being out in the countryside and rural and all those good things. And I suppose we are a bit, although it doesn't feel like it with all the new builds going up everywhere. It's a bit of a nightmare. You feel like we're being turned into one massive, great big suburbia. Right, going past this church, I can't remember what it was called now. It's probably on the road. Oh, you're back again. What's this church called? Can you remember what this church is called?
It used to be called the United Reform Church.
Oh, the United Reform. I used to do juggling in there years ago. They had a club in there and I did a bit of juggling.
How are you juggling now?
Rubbish. I lost an eye, so I throw things and I can't catch them.
I suppose it's something that you learn, isn't it?
It is. One of those things you learn and then you throw it away. Quite literally. Yeah, have fun. That's a multi-storey car park. I don't know what they're doing to it. Maybe it's dangerous. Buckingham Road, multi-storey car park. There she goes, look, whizzing off. So we're coming down to the seafront. I can pretty much just about see the sea, but it's a bit of a trek down there. Past all this. In that, actually, whilst I think about it, sorry, cam work's a bit rubbish today. It was a carpet shop for a long time. Can't remember if it was Allied carpets or that sort of thing. Don't know what fresh egg means. I don't think you can go and get your fresh eggs from in there. What do they do? Have chickens in there or something? Maybe. Who knows? It's not the right sort of environment for free-range chickens. If you pass the shop, that's a lot of shops of these just keep changing. There was a pet shop back there. That's now gone. Body shop. Coming up to the body shop here next to me. I filmed in there for corporate films, health and safety films for the body shop years ago. Doing, I don't know, don't trip over the furniture and don't knock the staff about, that sort of nonsense. Which hopefully most people wouldn't do anyway, but you never know. Right, going past, I think I've been down here before fairly recently. Showed off these wonderful Georgian houses, maybe even older, probably Georgian. And then we're going to go down to the seafront and see what's occurring, if anything. So I'm very excited. We're going down Prospect Place. Now there's a name for you, Prospect Place. You imagine that this will have a lovely prospect. And if you live here, some nice old shops though that are empty. Not much business, I suppose, comes down here, which is a bit of a shame. Look at that, that is a beautiful, I love this building. Wouldn't mind living in a place like that. Probably not much light on the inside, but it does look very nice. Look at that tiny titchy window here, look. Look at that, boarded up. Isn't that lovely? And the big, huge doorway. That I like, but opposite here, I'm not so keen on that. So it does look like there's some filming going on here. You can see that there is. Yes, they've got all the trucks. I used to do all this stuff for a living. So we're going to cross the road and find out what's going on. Straight into the sun, so I've come up the wrong way, really. And it was at that point that the plug on my microphone suddenly unplugged itself. And the rest of this, which is fascinating and interesting, has no sound, no audio whatsoever, and I am hugely disappointed because, as you'll see, I am waffling to the camera explaining what it is I'm looking at. This is the film crew down here on the seaside at the Lido. And there's the catering and some people, and they were all a little bit suspicious of me because they could see I was holding a camera and I had a fluffy microphone. And I go up to this chap here, and I had a nice chat with him. I said, "Oh, you've got a big trampoline," and he looked at me, and I said, "No, I know it's a reflector, a lighting reflector," and he was just sort of getting it ready for filming. And we were having a nice little chat, and that all was working very well. That bloke in the anorak there was started to follow me around. He was to do with health and safety and goodness knows what. And I have a chat with him. Well, he calls me off the wall. But then I went and had a look at this. This is one of the grips trucks with lighting stands and bits and pieces. No, not grips, lighting. And I spoke to that nice chap up there and saying how clean his van looked. And I made some quip about, oh yes, well, you're making a period piece. Everything would be polished and gleaming back in those days. So we had a little laugh about that. He had no idea who I was, obviously, but he could see the camera again. And I was making my way past all these very large... that's Julia sitting next to me with her phone going off as she's watching the footage at the same time. And I made my way down past all these great big wagons which contained all sorts of stuff, camera stuff, costumes, all of the necessary feature film stuff. I believe this is a cinema production, but it may be a television production, but it was quite a lot of gear for a television production, which is usually a lot low key. And I started to make my way around all these trucks that had the various bits and pieces in, and I was fascinated, as you will shortly see, by the gear they had. They did tell me their names, because I go back and have a chat with them a little bit later, and they said, "Can you walk round?" And I was fascinated by all the little tripods that they had, babies, legs they call them, legs for the camera, and the little ones I think are called babies. I mentioned the camera tape, coloured camera tape for various marks that they sometimes put down on the ground, as well as, and look at that, that's a clapperboard for very wide shots. It's a very long clapperboard, and you can see the people watching me as I was commenting, slightly confused as to who I was. And you could see all sorts of bits of kit here. I was fascinated. One of them said on the kit that they had a Steadicam, and of course I made a joke about the fact that the GoPro has its own stabilization in, more tripods for a second camera, and then I see the Steadicam hanging up there right on the end of the thing. I can't think what you call that thing. And then passing some track here. I don't point it out the first time, but that is track in which a dolly goes on, so you get some smooth stuff. And then a woman came past, and I was just intrigued to see what she was going to get out of her suitcase, because I thought it might be a lens or a camera or something. But she looked at me and I moved away, as you do. There's the Lido, and they decked it out. You can't really see too much here, but they decked it out in the 1920s. Or 30s, it's that sort of period. And interestingly, as you might catch a glimpse, they had all the deck chairs facing north, which I thought was daft because the sun would never be there. They would never actually sit that way. I was clambering on a wall at this point, looking at all the different bits of kit that they had, explaining it to the audience. And there were the monitors inside that little black tent or gazebo affair, in which the director could sit and watch what the camera work would do. You can't see it terribly well in there, but that's where it was. And I was commenting that back in the old days, you didn't have monitors and things. And this is where the bloke suddenly, he said, "Oi, excuse me, mate, can you get off the wall?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "I don't mind you filming." He said, "I don't want you to fall off." I said, "Well, it's all right, I won't fall off." And I was just sort of saying, well, if you weren't here, you wouldn't be asking me to get off, would you? Because it's not on the set. "Oh, no, well, we've paid to be here." And we, So I said, "Yeah, that's fair enough." And I was laughing and joking. He was fine about it. It wasn't that we were having an argument or anything like that. He was pretty good. And then I was just peering in at the various bits and bobs and talking to the guys there and telling them I used to do a bit of filming in the old days and I'd done a bit of extra work. Nothing was going on. I wasn't holding up the production, just in case you think, oh, hello. There is a hell of a lot of hanging about whilst important stuff is going on, like a little bit of set dressing, or the costumes are being adjusted, or the lines are being rehearsed and that sort of thing. But yes, I was moving on, and I know I was being hassled by this chap. I do eventually get down. Oh, I think I am down, aren't I, at this point? Slurp of coffee there, and then you can see a bit more of the film production going on, a bit of track.
I see what you mean with the chairs facing north.
Yeah, it's a bit silly. Then I guess she must be a third assistant called Mazzy or Maisie or something like that. She came up and said, "Hello, what are you doing?" And I had a nice little chat with her, saying who I was. I said I was the Bald Explorer, doing a thing about Made in England. This is a production made in England. But I was particularly interested in asking her who was in it and what it was called. But she was very cagey and didn't want to tell me.
She's got a very lovely smile, though.
Yes. So she was very personable. And she said, "I don't mind you filming, but you need to be a bit quiet because the director's in here." She pointed out the director, who was a lady director, but the lady director had her back to me. And of course, I wasn't going to talk to her because she was inimitably busy. So
we know what it's like when a director is in work mode.
Absolutely. So, yes, let me just move the microphone over so that Julia can comment on this, because you've not actually seen the footage at all.
No, I'm watching with fascination. I mean, you can see how in your element you are. And I'm sure that everyone there, the part of the crew and everything, can see that as well, and that's why they're not worried about you being there.
No, I mean, and of course I was so interested in the gear, and I kept saying to the crew, I said, I'm not interested in the actors and all of that. I'm more interested in the equipment. Anyway, eventually she persuaded me that if I was welcome, I had to stand by the barrier. So she comes along and introduces me to these two guys whose names now I can't remember, which I'm really gutted that the audio had gone, because it was just lovely to have a chat. And this is where I'm actually explaining who I am and what I do with the Bald Explorer. I probably slap my head at some point, because I always say that when I'm explaining, and then I said I did a bit of acting and a bit of this, flirting away. But they weren't going to let me give me any extra information. She said, "Oh, these are my marshals, Freddie and Ginger." That wasn't their names. And that then she had to go and get on with the stuff. But it was lovely to see that. In the end, I realised, of course, I'm facing into the sun, so the production isn't terribly good. And I think I mentioned something to them. I said, "You're all facing the wrong bleeding way, aren't they? They're, you would never have the deck chairs facing north, but of course it is, and we can see the sun blistering there in the background. You wouldn't be that way round, but anyway, we have a conversation. Then I get collared in a second by another bloke who was totally fascinated by the GoPro, and he didn't really know how it all worked. And I'll have this conversation with him, which might now be a bit dull, but we'll see how it is. I didn't realise how long I'd spent time talking to this woman.
That's right. I'm enjoying looking at her. She's lovely, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very lovely, I suppose.
Shame I can't hear her voice.
I know.
Oh, well.
She was. I mean, because one of the things that went through my mind is, all these people are incredibly lucky to be where they are, filming in the industry, and it did make me feel like I wanted to be back.
Massive pangs of...
Yes,
oh.
Except I only really ever managed to be an extra.
Hey, check out that fellow with the...
yeah, you can see a bloke with a hat. And I, you never...
Trilby or something.
Never got close enough to find out who they really were, or what the scene was about. But I said to her, "Oh yeah, this is the point where I was saying I'll probably go round and get down to the other end, and then I get collared by this bloke."
Oh, there's a lovely peach outfit that lady's wearing.
There's some very nice stuff, and here he comes. He came up to ask me some questions. So this might just be a bit dull and boring because he's now pointing to the radio mic, and he said, "What is it? Is that a radio mic? Are you beaming live?" His name is Richard Ward.
You should be putting comedy overlay on this.
Unit medic he was. Oh, there you go. I've just read his... I didn't know that at the time, which is probably why he's wearing the mask, because he's the medic, So if anybody is ill... And it is amazing the amount of people that you have on a production, particularly for cinema. And you can see there all the different trucks in the background that have lots of different things. And television is scaled much smaller than that because it was just not cost effective. But they had everything. They had loads of track to put a dolly on, and I'll look at that again in a minute. And they had the camera on a dolly. And a dolly is, for those that I don't know, it's a vehicle that runs on track, not like a train, but a bit like a train, pushed, in which usually a cameraman sits on with the camera, and often it can have a crane, a small crane, or an arm that raises up and down, so you get these very smooth moving shots.
Smooth camera contraption.
And yeah, so it's like a steady cam, but it's the old-fashioned way of moving the camera, but it means that you can plan a shot and get it really precise and still have this very gentle tracking movement to the point that you don't really know it's moving until you're aware of it. Whereas sometimes with Steadicam and the GoPro gives you that sort of fly on the wall look. Anyway, I spent too long chatting to this chap, and I was sort of aware that it was eating into it, but it was an interesting conversation, of which I'm now unable to share with you. So it's really gutting for me.
I'm really gutted I missed out on all this. I mean, it's so exciting seeing all that. It makes me want to put me through the makeup trailer. Give me my script to read.
Yeah,
and get me in costume and put me on set.
That's the generator.
Let me at it.
That's the generator that was powering all the lights. The bit just now was the track. There's where the monitors are, and they were sort of clearly gearing up. And so I'm then making my way. Unfortunately, there was this bloody hedge in the way. And I was just really excited and thrilled to be able to witness it, because it did give me that, and I was trying to sort of...
Bloody hedge.
Yeah, can I see anything through there?
It's a peeping Richard look.
Yes.
And here we have the very rare peeping Richard.
Making his way round these trucks. And I know I couldn't see this shot, but I tried to see... You get a glimpse, maybe. I'm holding the camera as high as I can as I walked along here. And you see some of the old changing... what do you call it? The changing booths, of Victorian beach hut changing huts. Changing huts, I think they were called.
Big ones on wheels.
Yes, and there we go. We can see them there as I clamber over the railings. desperate to get in to see everything. And, not that many people hanging about, more marshals here preventing me from going in. We get a better view of what's going on with all the lights and the Three Cups Hotel, which was probably the name of some fake hotel. You can see there the beach huts, just about see them facing north. Which
it looks really odd, doesn't it? It looks well, it is unnatural to have it facing the wrong way.
You wouldn't do it.
The sun is shining
behind
the other way.
Yes, and ordinarily on the Lido itself, or the Lido, there's a balcony that goes all the way, a walkway that goes all the way around, and you could actually do that. And I'm trying to point all this out and mentioning this stuff. That guy behind is a painter. He told me later on he's like a standby painter.
That'd be why he has a paintbrush in his hand.
That's it, yeah. And he was doing last minute bits of painting stuff. I thought at first he was one of the guys, the set dressers, because he was fiddling. We can see some of the extras all standing by. There's one with a cricket bat I can see. It'll be, unless you put this on a very big screen, it's going to look very small. But anyway, I'm waffling around. And as I said earlier, there's so much waiting about before anything happens, where they say turnover, running, action, and all of that, and the clapperboard goes out and all of these things. But fascinating to see good old Worthing being utilised once again, the Lido. And I mentioned, one of the things I mentioned to Maddie, whatever her name was, Maisie, the blonde beauty at the front, was that I said, the last time the Lido was used was for Stan and Ollie, the feature film about Laurel and Hardy. As far as I know, it may have been used for other things, but that was a big feature film, and they really only used a little bit on the inside, and they put the camera on that funny car park opposite. Yes, and then before I left, I had a look at all these props, beautiful props here, and they have based it. One of the questions I remember I also asked Maddie, whatever her name was, I said, was it supposed to be in Worthing? Because sometimes they just, it's an interesting location, but it's not supposed to be Worthing. Look at that lovely old bike, Mr. Reynolds, the butcher's. Lovely. And little posters and things that advertise various different things, all on standby to be moved in and around the set as required. Quite a lot of set dressing there, these old hand carts and, this, here we are, confectionery, what is that? Confiseries.
I'm not sure what that means.
And the old-fashioned lobster pots, I assume. And a bath chair. You can see what they used to call as a bath chair, for an invalid's chair, to take in the sun. Does look a bit knackered, doesn't it? And some fake bread there in being cycled, that no doubt one of the extras will sort of cycle past to add a little bit of flavour. So very busy down there, lots of trucks. Another one here I had a look in. Oh, got some fake ferns. I didn't know that. I pushed the camera up, I couldn't see in there, so that was interesting. And then I am about to leave. A few more comments here. I thought I'd just leave it all in so you can take it or leave it as it is. And then I make my way over to some boats. I was going to do one last shot of the pier to finish with, but then I discovered, on this low loader coming up, there's some vintage boats. And I wanted to have a look at that. And I thought, hang on, I've got the sun in the wrong place. Let's go round this side so we can actually have a look at them. Sitting in the car is the chap who was delivering them. So I had a chat with him off camera at the end. But look, there we are. Look, lovely. Sunshine. And he said to me, I said, are they actually going in the water? He said, no, they're just lying on the beach a bit later on in the production.
Decorative.
Very, very lovely and indicative of. And it was nice to see. And then there's the Lido from the other end. You can just about see the balcony that goes all the way around. And then I left everyone with the pier. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll have sound on the next one. There's me saying thank you and goodbye.
Sorry about the phone call.